Hey YouTube, Brandon Ascari here with another awesome and insightful episode of Ascari Digital's Content Creator Academy, where, as you know, it is my goal to help educate and inspire you, yes, you, to being the most successful freelancer that I know you could be. And together, we can do it. But first, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when our episodes go up on Mondays and Wednesdays. Give us a huge thumbs up because it helps with the YouTube algorithm and it boosts my confidence. And leave a comment down below with any questions or concerns that you may have. I always like to check them and answer them as soon as possible. And let's get started this week where we talk about building an ENG setup and what does that mean, huh? Yay. So if you didn't know what camera that was that I was holding up, we're going to be talking about the Panasonic AG-UX190 ENG camera, camcorder, whatever you want to call it, piece of machinery that records things, bro. And talking about what you can do with it as far as an ENG setup is concerned and how it's going to benefit you in your career. And most importantly, put a few dollar bills in your pocket. Like the Pocket 6K, but not 6K unless you're billing out for that much, which is totally fine. So anyway, let's talk about the camera real quick. It has a lot of the essential features that you're going to need in a camcorder. As far as things are concerned, for the price point, I think a little under $2,000. This is probably the best one you're going to get that delivers 4K. So some of the professional features it has that you want to pay attention to on this baby would be your ND filters. So because it has the ND filters built in, this means you don't have to worry about putting any neutral density filter glass on it, which is a huge plus when it comes to shooting outside. So you've got a quarter, a 16th, and a 64th ND. So this way it gives you the opportunity to shoot out in the sun and still achieve some depth of field and not completely blow out your image. I also like, although it's not completely necessary, that it has the built-in screen protector for the lens. I think that's an interesting feature, but really doesn't matter. Nice thing about it is you have the zoom control here, and you also have a zoom control up here, which allows you to get those smoother zoom ins and zoom outs, although not perfect. The other nice thing is that you have two professional XLR inputs. So you have an input here for a shotgun microphone that you could attach to the camera, and then you have your other XLR input back here, which will help you get professional sounding audio and not require you to have to run separate audio for sync sound. You could take XLR feeds from mix boards if they have a sound person that can provide that, or you could plug the microphones directly into your camera, giving you a left and right or stereo mix, which is nice. Your audio's controlled over here. You have your channel levels. You have your input and channel selectors, all good stuff that you certainly need. Powered by this little battery that you would use here, the Panasonic AG-VBR59, for those of you who don't know. But the most important thing in ENG builds, in my opinion, is not necessarily the camera itself, but actually the Varizoom controller that you can get for Panasonic. Now, this is not completely unique to Panasonic, but in lower end, less expensive camcorders, this is relatively exclusive to Panasonic. To get a zoom, focus, and iris control in one unit that plugs into the back of the camera is actually very, very rare and something that you need when it comes to ENG. And what does ENG stand for? It is electronic news gathering. So this would be popular for news shoots, also anything that requires this type of build where you'll be capturing events where you need to do smooth push-ins and pull-outs, because this is very important for things where you may only be living on one camera, so you have to make sure that everything is as perfect as it possibly can be, or else you'll face issues and negative feedback from your client. So to solve this issue, it's a little bit bigger of a rig and something that is essential. Now, one downside to this camera in particular is I've noticed that you have some banding when you're filming a projection screen. So if there's a computer screen, a projector, stuff like that, it does give you those bars that wave with the monitor. Because it is a lower end camera, usually this could be fixed by synchro scanning, but sadly this camera does not offer synchro scanning. But it has pretty much every everything else. So for things where you're not having to film presentations with large screens, this should be completely fine for you. So let's go ahead and jump over to the camera where you can see me build the rig and watch as I put everything together. And then we'll do a test shot with it. I'll show you how the zoom in and zoom out controller works and everything like that. So let's pop over to other me. Boop. All right, YouTube, let's take a look at the Panasonic AG-UX190 and how I build this rig out. So we're going to take the camera. I'm using my Manfrotto tripod. I think it's the N12 with the nitrogen balance and stuff like that. So anyway, let's adhere this to the tripod as such. Lock that bad boy in. Now, the zoom controller that I was talking about is the Panasonic Varizoom. Anything else about it? DVHD controller. So all we're going to do, turn this bad boy around, we're going to reveal the camera remote area over here, and let me get you a nice close-up on that. So you'll see right here a focus iris, and you'll see a zoom SS. So what we're going to do is go ahead and plug whichever one fits into whichever one, because thankfully they're kind enough to give us two different sizes. So this looks like the bigger one. We'll plug it in right there for the focus and iris. And this one looks like the zoom control right there. So now that we have this plugged in, what we're going to do is now attach this to the tripod arms. So one of the most important parts of this build is actually being able to attach this little piece of machinery here to the tripod arm like so. So what we're going to do is unscrew these back ends here, making sure that when we reapply them, it's the smaller side first. I'm going to take that off. Run this over here, reattach, and then like I said, smaller end first. Get those back on. Come on. There we go. Get that to a nice position. Not too far off of the handle, but you want to make sure that it clears this so that way it does not hit the handle. Come on. And also tight enough so that way it does not slide, because that's very important. So let's check. That's adhered pretty well. Now, another huge part of this is actually the fact that you want to have two extendable handles like you could see up here, because this will allow your rig to get more comfortable. So we'll go ahead and drop that down, and then we will go ahead and drop this one down. Come on, there we go. And that'll make our rig nice and comfortable. Okay, so now that we have that roughly configured, it's pretty straightforward what we're doing with this. We do have the option, if we would like, to go ahead and attach an optional boom on it, which is completely up to us, but for the sake of the shot, let's do it. I have a Rode NTG shotgun here, and all you gotta do, unscrew this right here, open that up, this here, close it right back up, get it somewhere that's comfortable. Come on, let's close. There we go. And then just run a tiny little XLR from the back right here, and we have audio control on that. So let's go ahead, raise this so I know you could see it. Almost at a rough look of what this setup would look like. I'm just going to adjust the handlebars a little bit, lower them down. Essentially, the reason for that is that you may be filming a presentation for over an hour long, which means your arms are going to get tired if you're up there holding the camera like this, and that's not what we want. We want our hands to rest pretty much by our sides down here, and it'll allow us to control the camera a heck of a lot smoother than if we weren't doing that. So I'll extend these all the way down. Then what you're going to do is pretty much just adjust your drag system to whatever feels the most comfortable to give you smooth movement on either pan or tilt. So let's see what's pretty good. There we go. So for instance, now I can get pretty smooth movement when it comes to this camera. And then as you'll see here, which I will zoom in for, on the controller down here, you can get very good zooms, focus control, and iris. So those are all things that are going to help you when it comes to operating the camera, moving for a smooth pan or smooth tilt to help you get perfect movement. So let's go ahead and turn on the camera and see what happens. So let's take a look at the Panasonic AG-UX190 with the beautiful flip out screen that it has. I'm gonna go ahead and power that on and take a look at what we're working with. Great, so right now it's a completely black screen, which for this is exactly what we want, because that means that the cover's on. So let's go ahead and turn that off. And it's still dark. So that means we have to play with our shutter speed, ISO, and gain. So let's take a look. Our aperture is currently closed. So that could be what's working against us right now. So let's go ahead and check the aperture. Come on, aperture. Where's my iris? So the reason why we have a black screen right now is because our aperture is currently set to close. So if we go ahead with the zoom focus iris control, we can actually open that up and start to get an image. Like so. We just have to be able to see it. So now let's play with our gain a little bit. We're going to switch over to gain. We're going to press that and we're going to increase it to up the brightness a little bit, just so that way we could start to see what's going on in the image. Anyway, the nice thing about these professional cameras is that as you're playing with these things, you could actually start to see sometimes on the menu some waveform monitors that help you with brightness and stuff like that, like you see right here. That's something that comes in very handy when you're doing work like this. But anyway, let's go ahead and switch my microphone to this camera so we could go ahead and see what an image looks like from an ENG style build. But first, let me show you what it looks like when you can smoothly zoom in and then smoothly zoom out. You can adjust your focus to completely out of focus to in focus. You can change your aperture smoothly across the whole board from close to open. This is a wonderful tool. The zoom controller is something that everyone should have, the Varizoom. But anyway, let's go ahead and switch to the image coming out of the Panasonic AG-UX190. So what I'm going to do is actually use the controller right now to help me pull focus on myself, because right now I'm out of focus. Right now it looks like I am in focus. Let's see if I can go ahead and record on that. But first, we're actually going to unplug my microphone from the sound mixer over here, and we're going to plug it directly into this camera so we could hear how the audio sounds coming from this camera. All right, so let's do out of focus. I'm using my zoom focus iris controller to control the focus. I can also use it to control the iris of the image, to darken and brighten the image to whatever looks best to the human eye. I can also use it to smoothly and efficiently zoom in to my face if I so choose. Get a nice fluid and smooth zoom. I could go fast and just crash land in, and now you see that I am talking and it's not in focus, but it shall be soon, as long as I can find the focus point, which apparently I'm not at minimum focusing distance, so I have to stand somewhere here, and then you'll see I zoom back out and I'm out of focus again. How does this happen? I don't know, but it's something that you have to pay attention to while you're doing this. Anyway, how does the audio sound in the Panasonic AG-UX190? So some things that you can do with this setup is record live events, record talking heads, anything that you want to do. It's mainly for ENG electronic news gathering, as we talked about. But the good thing about that is it's a great moneymaker. It helps you go and record events, record panels, presentations, things where you need to do smooth zooms, and you usually get a very good rate with this type of setup. It's very professional, and you can plug all sorts of things into it. The reason why we use this is because it gives you those XLR inputs, it gives you the zoom focus iris controller, and this is just something that you absolutely and imperatively need for your production, something that will come in very handy if you are doing things in the ENG television and live event world. Something where it may not be as good as the Sony in low light, but it is certainly better than it for many, many other uses. So let me know what you think in a comment down below. In the meantime, give us a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. And in the meantime, everybody, as you know, I will see ya.